Hello and welcome to the Policybazaar Show, where we learn about the rapidly evolving insurance sector. I'm Chaiti Narula. In the month of September, the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority of India, or the IRDAI, said that the insurance industry needs to grow as its services are most needed now. The regulator since then has announced a slew of standardized products for term, life, dwellings and small businesses in addition to health. This means that the first-time buyers can now pick products without having to compare different plans or collect several documents. That's the good news. And this is our focus for the day: standardized insurance, a way forward to boost insurance penetration. Joining me to throw some light on this, we have with us Vaidyanathan Ramani, who's the head of product and innovation, Policybazaar.com. Just for our viewers, Vaidyanathan has led multiple roles in businesses throughout his career. In his current role, Vaidyanathan is working with all the major insurance partners for building up new products that help leverage the digital channels for handling the unmet needs and to derive value from insurance products for a vast majority of customers. He was also recognized for his efforts as a global leader for Royal & Son Alliance, a $9 billion insurance conglomerate and a member of FTSE 100 London in 2012. Welcome to the show, Vaidyanathan. What a pleasure to have you with us. So let's begin, Vaidyanathan. For the well-being of policy buyers, IRDAI has recently come up with several standardization norms that benefit all of us. How do you think that the standard products are relevant in today's market?
Yes. So if you look at the reality of India today, insurance penetration is abysmally small. If I look at from a proportion of GDP perspective, we are under 4%, which is nowhere comparable to some of the biggest markets we have. And if you look from separate products, let's take health, for example, right? Less than 10% of buyers actually have individual covers against their name. And even if I take up people who have some kind of covers, including in their offices, etc., that number does not really exceed 20%. I'm keeping the government-related insurance plans away from this. And if you take the rest of the number, it is abysmally small. Even in terms of life insurance, for example, there have been recent reports which clearly states that India has a very large income gap, protection gap in terms of almost 9 to 2%. So that means as a country, if we required 100 rupees or $100 as a protection against all of us, in reality, we are only being able to protect about $8 or 8 rupees as a proportion as you take it. That's a significant gap. That's a large gap. Now, there are multiple ways to solve this problem. I think the most important way to solve this problem is somewhere spread the adoption of insurance across the country. Today, it's probably concentrated in very small pockets. Very small proportion of Indians are actually buying these protection measures against, let's say, health emergencies or life emergencies. I think the first way is to try and make this far more ubiquitous, make sure that larger population buys it. And the standardization, standard covers that are being rolled by the IRDA, I think is a good move on that part.
So what was the process or ideation behind coming up with these standard products at this point of time, Vaidya?
The viewpoint is, and I'm hypothesizing this, a lot of us have been, is that I think when you look at health products, and we've spoken a lot of or life products, I think they're inherently a little complex for people to make a decision on. It's a lifelong decision. It's a long-term decision, even if not lifelong, one may say. And one has to go through a lot of hoops, a lot of understanding of the terms and conditions of the policy in order to make a decision. This is after one has inherently decided I want to invest. So there's a lot of gap between the point you want to decide to have a coverage and the point you actually have a coverage.
Okay.
One key point here could be holding back many of these interested people is the product is inherently complex. I want to understand everything that's available before I commit. It's a long-term commitment. How do you change that? One may say the easiest way is make all terms and conditions simple. That is also being done, but we have to be cognizant here that insurance is ultimately a contract, and when it is being dealt with for a large section of people, one has to unfortunately put in clauses that make sure that the coverages are fair to the extent the premiums are being taken. So while simplification is one side, I think the other route that can help people make this call is standardized. Make sure that you kind of make a standard product with very clear features and kind of label it as a standard product or an equivalent. All that the people have to decide is, I have to buy, I know what is there in it. There is no ambiguity about it. I know what it's covered, so let's go with it. I think that was the thought process to make come up with these standard products to make sure that people adopt it first, don't have to think a lot. And when they have decided to go for a product like this, they immediately convert.
That's very interesting. Vaidya, for the viewers out there, can we also elaborate on the types of standard plans launched thus far and how they really work? And what features should consumers keep in mind while going ahead for these plans?
Yes. So the first and biggest standard product, I think the start of this whole series was the health insurance product, the indemnity health insurance product, Arogya Sanjeevani, was conceptualized late last year and launched 1st of April this year. Unfortunately, by then we had switched into the lockdown mode and COVID and everything.
Yeah.
Following that, the regulator made sure that they came up with standardized products also for specific coverage against COVID. We had two sets of products, the Corona Kavach and the Corona Rakshak, one on the indemnity side and one on the fixed benefit side. Now the regulator is talking about Jeevan Bima Saral, Saral Jeevan, which is a standardized term insurance product to be launched from 1st of Jan 2021. There is a talk about a standardized personal accident product and a standardized vector-borne disease coverage product that are in the wings. We are already in the exposure draft stage where feedback is being taken about what the coverage is and what the product structure should look like. These would be the major ones from a retail point of view for most of our customers.
Vaidya, can you also please elaborate on the standard health plan, Arogya Sanjeevani, and how it is really beneficial to the common man and what has changed since the inception?
The Arogya Sanjeevani plan, by nature, by definition that I defined, the intent is to simplify the coverages for the customers so they can adopt it without having to think much about it. So it is by nature a very simple indemnity plan. By indemnity, I mean it provides coverages, financial coverages against any hospitalization expenses. So it covers all the basic requirements. Should you be hospitalized, it covers your hospital bill and a fair amount of coverage of other medical related outcomes. What must be kept in mind is because it's a simplified plan, because it's intended for a larger segment of the population, the coverages are what I will call fair. So one of the key aspects to remember here is in terms of room rent, for example, coverages. Anybody who understands health insurance, the first thing that they look for is the room rent coverage. In the Arogya Sanjeevani plan, that is limited to about 2% of the sum insured value. So if I, for example, take a 5 lakh sum insured coverage, that means it's restricted to about 10,000 per day. But yes, 1,000 or 5,000 rupees per day is the normal room rent coverage, maximum. Okay. So you would be restricted to hospitals that can charge up to 5,000 per day. Should you use a hospital room that costs more, then there will be proportional deduction. So
correct.
Let's say you end up using a hospital that costs 7,500 per room per rent on rent for the room per day, and you probably will get 2/3 of the final bill that's eligible for reimbursement or payment from insurance.
Yeah.
So that's one key criteria. The second key criteria to remember here is that the plan has a small copay. Copayment means suppose the hospital bill comes up to about 100 rupees, and let's assume for a simplicity that all 100 rupees is payable as per the terms of the policy. Then there is a 5% copay inherently included in this product, which means the insurer will only be liable to pay about 95 rupees here. 5 rupees will have to be paid by the customers out of their pocket.
And what is the reason for that?
I think the overall intent here is when you're designing a mass product, first is you have to keep the premiums competitive. While the regulator did not specify any premium limits and allowed the insurance companies to come up with their own actually different pricing here. I think the clarity was that we have to keep it competitive. Otherwise, the adoption is not going to happen for larger segment of population. That's the intent. The second is, and this is more from I believe from a risk perspective, less from a consumer perspective, but from the overall sustainability perspective.
Okay.
Typically across the world, copays are very, very common. What it does is it stops people from ending up frivolously getting into hospitals. Though I'm saying with a lot of caution because I think we may not all think of it that way. But when you're defining a mass product, you also have to be careful about that 1%, 2% leakages that may happen. Across the world, copays typically help you control that leakages because people won't normally get into the hospital unless they really feel it. Because there is a portion of the payment that they have to do out of their hand. Right? So all in all, it brings a lot of sustainability. Over a long period of time, that would mean great for the customer because sustainability translates into very stable premiums. Going forward, if this thing works the way it is envisaged, you may not see a large changes in the amount of premium the customer has to bear over a period of time.
Very interesting. Does standardization of insurance product really help policy holders? That's a big question.
My humble view here is that it does help in a lot of ways.
Okay.
As I said,
How?
for a lot of people, making the decision of, am I picking the right product? Do I understand really everything that is there in this product? Am I investing money to really get the coverages I think I'm getting? It's a
Right.
big, and insurance has not been an easy product. There are lots of terms and conditions to go through. Now, a standard product takes away a lot of this fear or apprehension, if I can use the better word. Because the regulator at the other side has said, we have taken care to make sure that this product contains everything that is as you expect. And because it's standard, everybody is going to talk about it. Over a period of time, the knowledge dissemination is going to be so good about it that one doesn't have to, I would say, not really have a need to go through the terms and conditions. You would obviously know everything that's there to know about the product. All you need to do is make that decision. That's the intent. So if that works, and we've seen it at least in the COVID period, in terms of the Arogya Sanjeevani product, the uptake has been good. It does help people make the decision. They feel liberated out of having to go through this very difficult situation of trying to decipher what the product is all about.
And what is the customer segment here in mind for these standard products that you're talking about in the market at the moment? And can we expect more of them in the market anytime soon?
Yes, if I see the trend, and every day we are seeing more and more visibility here, I think the trend is going to be that we'll see a lot more of these covering each aspect of our needs, broader needs. So even if the trend, if I go through so far, we started with the indemnity product, then there was COVID, so we had to have two standard products. Now we are talking about a very simple term insurance product. We are talking about a personal accident product. There's already a vector-borne disease product discussion that's happening. So I think we should soon expect a standardized product across all key aspects of coverage that one will require from a customer point of view. But going to the segmentation, who should ideally adopt this product? If we have to look at that, I would say while the products are standard and they offer great simplicity, the flip side to it, and I expect the consumers must be aware about this, is standard product comes with what it is. They are standardized. So it is one way we are trying to see one definition fitting a larger segment of population, and it is going to be therefore tuned to a larger segment of population, what I call mass market. So for people who look for very specific coverages, and I can take numbers to illustrate on both sides.
Yeah.
By definition, Arogya Sanjeevani, for example, runs till about 5 lakh. Beyond that, the insurers are allowed to launch their own products, but the sum insured coverages stop at 5 lakh as of today, as per the definitions, on where the mandated viewpoint from the regulator has been for all insurance companies.
Okay.
Similarly, on Saral Bima, there is a point of 25 lakhs at which the mandatory nature goes away, after which the insurers can decide to launch anything higher. So if you are going to fall into the bracket where you believe your need is above 5 lakhs in health insurance, say example, or you fall into the bracket where you say my term coverages are going to be about 25 lakhs, clearly then the standard product may not be the right one for you. It may be a great starting point, and I think that's the intention. It can be the first product that you buy because you don't have to think much, and it's better to be protected than not being protected while you're making a decision. But at some point, as your own situation changes and you're looking for different needs for yourself, you may have to take a larger call and move to more customization.
All right, Vaidyanathan, with that, it's time for a short break for our viewers. Stay with us. We're going to be right back on the Policybazaar Show in discussion with Vaidyanathan. Welcome back to the Policybazaar Show. You're here with me, Chaiti Narula and Vaidyanathan Ramani, and we are discussing standardized insurance, a way forward to boost insurance penetration. In continuation, Vaidya, how does one go about deciding between buying a standard product or a comprehensive plan? There's always a confusion on that front, and how should one invest here?
I would use a very simple rule here. If you're a first-time buyer, if you're looking at the first purchase chance for a term insurance or a health insurance, indemnity insurance today, and these are two products that are going to be available pretty soon. One is already there. Then I'll recommend you should pick up these standard products as the first point of your coverage, even before you kind of decide what kind of coverages you require, because the very nature of these products, the very reason we need insurance is we are covered for all our unknown risks, right? So if you're a first-time buyer, I would say the decision must be to favor these and go for these as soon as you can afford and as soon as you have decided. The second set of customers who should adopt to this are those who've probably been looking at the coverages for quite some time now and have not been able to decide. If you're the one who've been probably haggling on this question for about last 2 months and not decided, my suggestion is you should go for this because it takes away a lot of your worries and helps you get a coverage. Of course, do remember that the maximum you get, there'll be some insured limits that you'll get here, at least as per what is available in the
Yeah.
market. 5 lakh on health insurance or 25 lakh on term insurance. If this broadly covers your criteria, I think the remaining terms and conditions should be good enough for your first coverage.
Fair enough. How do standard products like these help in increasing the insurance penetration levels in India? If you could give us a perspective on that also, Vaidya, and do you see any improvement in the buying behaviors and overall consumption patterns post these products come out and roll out in the market?
Yeah, a standard product takes away a lot of effort that a customer has to put. And I think it's not just the standard nature, but the fact that it's a standard product means a lot more dissemination of this information will happen. I'll almost go back taking a cue from almost 15, 20 years ago, right? When life insurance meant only one kind of product was. And nobody would kind of tell you to look at features, but simply would say, if you want to invest, just go for a life insurance. Now, that may not be a right example to compare here in the sense we are now talking about pure protection products vis-a-vis what was in the past. But that explains the nature of decision making. When you simplify something to the extent you say, you just need to cover your life, you just need to cover your hospitalization. Do not worry about what the product covers or does not cover. I think it takes away a lot of burden on the customer to make that decision. And Arogya Sanjeevani so far has shown that the hypothesis is not far from truth. As soon as the product was introduced, there has been a very good adoption of a product. For a new product to be launched and to be adopted at this rate definitely shows the depth and the right nature of going in this direction for the larger population. So clearly, this is how things can improve. This is one of the key steps for things to improve. As I said, we still are at a very a larger gap on protection or in terms of out-of-pocket expenses on healthcare. A lot of steps have to be taken. This is a major first step, and so far, if the outcomes are anything to go by, I think it has been very, very helpful in helping adopt things like health insurance or term insurance really good so far.
And most of these standard plans are available online at the moment. So what's the message here? What is the significance of it being available online? And can we say that there's a strong push for digital over here?
I think while I really support digital as a channel, and because it helps reach every nook and corner. Today, as a country, we are at a fairly good internet penetration and usability of smartphones. So it really helps reach every nook and corner, and digital must be a key channel to distribute. I also think potentially the outcomes you see today are an outcome of the situation we all went through the last 8-9 months as part of COVID. So we've been forced to go through some lockdown periods. We are still limping back to normalcy. So in many ways, if we are really targeting products to reach everybody at this point in time, I think digital has had a significant advantage. So I think that is reflected in the choices so far. But I think in the future, you will see a lot more availability across all channels because the intent of this is a mass market. And I think every channel, including digital, must do its bit to take it to all nooks and corners.
That's right. Whether we are going through a pandemic, it's still not over. And with this COVID scenario, we are investing a lot more in health insurance plans these days. People are seen more into health insurance plans than ever before. Would you say that standard plans are contributing over here, and are new buyers maximum takers for these plans?
Very true. I think pandemic just gave us a lot more reason to believe in standard products. I think they were timely. The Arogya Sanjeevani, for example, was envisaged even before we hit the pandemic time. And thankfully, they were available right just as we hit that first lockdown. Clearly, where, the pandemic probably exposes the benefit of this product more than anything else. You are in a situation where you desperately need a cover. And at this point in time, if I'm going to ask you as a customer to make your choice between 5 options and tell you to go through the terms and conditions to make your choices, I think it's a lot more difficult because the pandemic around us is going to make us go for a decision faster. By standardizing it and by getting Arogya, clearly the customers have liked the idea that You don't have to think much, but simply invest in it. And I think what also helped is, as soon as the products came, the regulator helped in making sure they communicated to the overall market that the health insurance plans that everybody holds at that point in time would have the coverage for COVID, and so Arogya Sanjeevani as well. So I think that really helped. You had a standard product where you didn't have to think. You were in a situation, almost a gun pointed at your head, saying you might be infected at any point in time. Better buy it right now.
Yeah.
And better choice that you simply say, I just need this product. Let me just decide the price and the brand. You go for it. So, and that is shown exactly in the way the adoption has been. Arogya Sanjeevani has been really, really adopted this year. As I said, for a plan that got launched just in April, to the point that we are seeing today, the kind of adoption is really, really very, very good. A new plan does not get this kind of adoption that easily. But the fact that it's a standard plan, the fact that everyone from regulator to every other entity involved in this process has been able to therefore give a perspective to the customer has meant that people have really adopted in notes. And I think in the medium term, we'll realize that was the wisest decision they've made.
All right, Vaidyanathan, we have come to the end of today's episode. We hope that this episode has been a good primer for all our viewers regarding standard products. Thank you for joining us as always, Vaidyanathan. That's it for this week. This is Chaiti Narula signing off.